Colonel Gene Ingram never completed that trip alive. You still have basic human rights, basic rights under the law.
I'm RJ Smith, and this is Crazy News. Today, I'm talking about the prison system and how inmates are routinely beaten, killed, cheated, raped, and everything here. And for some reason, this is not a big deal to the prison system. They could care less. In fact, it is my experience that they intentionally harass, punish, beat, insult inmates in an attempt to either lock them up, put them away, have a fight with them. There's always some reason for these dirty COs to do it. So today, I'm going to show you a couple cases right here in my home state that are so outrageous, you really won't believe they really happened. Are you ready? Let's go.
An undercover sting lands correctional officers behind bars. ABC Action News reporter Melissa Mahadeo is at the Avon Park Correctional Institution, where the sheriff says the 3 officers smuggled contraband in for inmates.
Especially in the Florida prison system, the guards, who like to be called correctional officers, are dirty bastards. Let me tell you something. These stories that I'm about to show you are going to make your mind go insane. Check this out.
Cell phone like this could bring in $1,000 to $2,000, so those officers stood to make a lot of fast cash.
All 3 of them confessed.
These guys, prison guards, bringing contraband into the facility, selling themselves to the highest bidder. And this is what makes Florida prison and other prison systems so very dangerous.
These are the correctional officers accused of attempting to smuggle cash, cigarettes, and cell phones into a state prison.
Well, how did these cell phones and drugs and everything else get into the prison? And prison officials will constantly tell you, oh, it's through the visiting room. You know, inmates get visits. Their visitors hand them drugs, they put them up their butt and they sneak them in. That happens. However, the bulk of cell phones, drugs, and things like that are brought in by correctional officers. You can't stuff a phone up your ass.
He was to keep $300 and had to turn $300 over to the inmate inside the facility.
$300 for risking your career, your freedom? $300? Oh my goodness. These guys are just, bottom of the barrel, unfortunately. A lot of them aren't well educated. A lot of them are angry and abusive and conniving.
This Walmart surveillance video captures 25-year-old Victor Medina collecting money from an undercover agent.
You have to be a real freaking idiot to go to a Walmart and accept money from someone you don't know to bring contraband into the prison. And these guys are set up all the time like this by the Inspector General's office. But they're paid so little money and they're dirty as hell, so they do it.
He'd been an officer for 3 years, but Jules Loya and Nathan Lucy recently started and hadn't yet completed the academy. Sheriff Grady Judd says that's part of the problem.
They don't give polygraphs.
Probably because polygraphs are not admissible in court. You can have someone take a polygraph, doesn't mean you're going to get an accurate answer from the machine. For instance, I consistently am able to fool lie detector tests. I did a test a couple years ago to see if it can be done, and very simply, just by doing a few simple things, lie detector tests are no good and should not be used.
At the end of the day, it creates a ripe environment for corruption.
But he says if you're an officer, you better obey the law.
If you hang around and you're on the take, we're going to get to you and we're going to arrest you.
I remember years ago when I had gotten in some trouble, and I dealt with these folks. They are the most aggressive, uncaring, and uneducated people that you might ever find doing this sort of job. But you're talking about such a low wage, you're going to get the bottom of the barrel, just like these guys. If you're a fan of the A&E series 60 Days In, which goes to different jails. They put people undercover, ex-inmates, ex-prison, undercover back in the prison, and everything is filmed for this television show. Take a look at this.
A parent of an inmate incarcerated for a lengthy period said conditions are worse in 2023.
More stabbings, more beatings, more stealing everything they got.
Fox 5 has shown disturbing videos of violence. This scene not connected to the most recent parent to come forward.
Scenes that regularly take place, not just in jails, but prisons, whether they be county, state, or federal. These guys do not fight fair. There's always 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on one. That's how they roll in the prison system. And they are backed up by guards who just don't give a shit.
Mundane issues diminish what the parent calls a level of humanity that should be present.
They give them one jumpsuit to wear. And if somebody steals their jumpsuit, they have to do without for days. My son says it's disgusting. Bare butt naked.
Conditions are so bad in places like Fulton County, Lowell Correctional Institution in Florida, Everglades Correctional Institution. Not only do you have to worry about the inmates, the prisoners, the convicts, whatever you want to call them, you have to worry about staff the same way as criminals. I remember the thing was when I had the problems many years ago, was that the guards just attack you, insult you, do everything possible to make you feel like shit. And that leads to more violence, right? Some people get out of prison just to find that one correctional officer who caused them to get beaten, or who caused them to go to the box, or caused them to go onto hard labor chain gangs and move rocks from one side to the other side of the facility and then back again for no absolute reason other than to torture people.
He says the biggest factor is control. Gang members appear to have it on most floors.
Make them give them $15 to $30 a week to buy what they want to. The level of worry is really off the charts now, because every minute of every day you're worried if he's still alive or not.
The guards really don't give a shit what happens to the inmates. There could be two guys fighting and the guard will look the other way. In fact, the guards often beat the shit out of you just because. And as far as extortion, there's a lot of extortion that goes on in prison and jails. The weak become eaten by the predators. And sometimes those people have to pay just to be safe in prison. It's a corrupt system.
Here's surveillance video, the state attorney says, shows inmate Ronald Gene Ingram walking on his own when heading to a waiting van. He was being taken to northern Florida. She says a short time later, he's unable to walk on his own and being carried by two officers.
When I was in there 20-something years ago, I had a problem with one of the guards who just came by during a count and picked me and my roommate out and sent us to the box, coming up with some foul and bullshit excuse to make room for new inmates that were arriving from the reception center. For months and months and months and months, I stayed in the box with my roommate. We wrote complaint after complaint after complaint. The guards started sending in empty trays into our segregation cell, so we didn't eat for many days. And just by the luck of the Irish, and I had people outside who called the prison and constantly complained, got a hold of the Inspector General's office, who then moved me in the middle of the night, just like this guy. And the lieutenant, who's now a captain at Santa Rosa, his name is, I guess it's Captain Williams now, he threatened my life.
Prosecutors say it was out of camera view on the way to the van when the four officers beat Ingram. Three of the officers from the Florida Department of Corrections made their first court appearances today.
Charge you with second-degree murder.
Ronald Connor, Christopher Rowland, and Kirk Walton each has been charged with second-degree murder, aggravated battery, and conspiracy.
If guards have a problem with you, it's not like in the movies where everything is, marshmallows and leprechauns. They will actually pay someone a pack of cigarettes, another inmate, to beat the shit out of you, stab you, kill you, whatever. This happens all the time. And guards constantly beat people. They beat them so bad they die. And then the investigations? What investigation? Basically, it's just bullshit.
Prosecutors say the beating they gave the 60-year-old Ingram on February 14th was so severe, Ingram died in the transport van.
It brings back so many bad memories for me. I remember I was scared out of my mind when these guards were threatening my life. Remember now, this guy that got beat up was handcuffed and shackled, and they beat him to death. absolutely incredible. Oh, God, it's, you know, the abuse suffered by people in jails and prisons is absolutely insane. I could probably go on for hours about guards who have killed, murdered, raped inmates. It is a big problem, and nobody really gives a shit out here because they're not in prison, right? And until your son or your daughter maybe makes a mistake, maybe he is speeding and gets in an accident and therefore is charged with involuntary manslaughter. I mean, your children will go through absolute torture if they somehow get in trouble. And then you'll realize what I'm telling you is true, but unfortunately, it'll be too late. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming by today on my little rant about the Florida prison system. I will see you back here tomorrow. Hey, please like, subscribe, share this video on your social media accounts. Help me by hitting that like button, by subscribing, and by sharing. And I'll see you right back here Monday. Have a good weekend.